Welcome back to another triathlon podcast brought to you by Mana Apparel. We have got an extra special episode this week. We are diving in with professional triathlete Kristian Høgenhaug. Now, you might have heard his name come up a little bit the last little while after the drama-filled race that was Ironman Frankfurt this weekend. So we're going to learn a little bit more about him, his career, and of course have a few questions about how he gets those wicked bike splits, because that was an incredible performance. But first, let's say hi. Kristian, how are you doing today?
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me onto the pod. We're looking very much forward to the talk. I'm good. It's all starting to sink in a little bit. Just the response I've gotten since the race has been crazy, but only positive, really. It's next level to everything I have experienced with any other race, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, we definitely look forward to diving more into it, and I'm joined as always by Josh and Fede. But why don't we dive in, Kristian? Just tell us a little bit how you came into the world of triathlon. It sounds like you started a little bit later.
It's actually it's definitely not the normal way into it, I would say. I've always been very interested in sport in a way. I have a picture of me as a 4 or 5-year-old kid cycling in the yellow jersey, because we had a guy winning the Tour de France, a Danish guy, Bjarne Riis, and he was one of my idols back then. And I actually also asked my dad I think it was last year, what my idols were as a kid, and he also said there were like a 8-meter, 100-meter that had the world record with some Kipketer. So I actually always enjoyed sports and also did a lot of different sports as a kid. But then when I grew a little bit more up, like at 14, 15, I started playing a lot of computer and a lot of World of Warcraft. And that's also pretty much where I never really found before that a sport that I was really good at. Maybe the best I was at was badminton, but far away from any elite. And but then I started playing a lot of computer, and that was very fun, but that's definitely not how you get fit. And I remember my dad even bought a trampoline to just get me and my brother outside, because we were at that level where he got frustrated that we played so much. Yeah. And then after the gymnasium, I started on like a folk high school. It's something we have here in Denmark. It's a school you go to, but you don't take an education. It's more like you live on the school, and then you can have all sort of different lectures. So it could be, you could have triathlon as something you do, or football or stuff like that. And I went to one with sport just to develop myself as a human, and also just try out different things. And their triathlon was one of the what do you call it, like lectures or something we had on the school. And I was at that time 20 years old, and that's where I kind of got introduced to it a little bit. And I remember I did my first a quarter of an Ironman in 2 hours and 33 minutes. So if you put both of them together, it's above 10 hours for a full. But I only did a fourth. And I have never heard of an Ironman, but one of my teachers had done an Ironman, and he quickly became almost like a god figure to the students out there. And he inspired me to do my first in 2012. And that's where I kind of got into the sport. But I actually thought that I would do an Ironman, and then I would stop.
Never
had any elite aspiration. Like everyone else. Yeah. But then, you know how it goes. And then suddenly the next year you're on the start line again. And that was actually in Frankfurt in 2013. But that was like terrible experience. And after that, I promised myself I wouldn't do triathlon anymore, and actually didn't do anything for like a year. But when I then started on my university degree in sports science, I met up with a lot of also sports interested guys, and triathlon also caught their interest. So I started doing a bit with them again. And then one thing led to another, and suddenly I was back into it again. And then, yeah, like did a little more serious with one of my friends. And in 2016, we did Frankfurt again. And I kind of actually won the overall age group ranking there. And he punched his ticket for Hawaii, and we both went there and both placed second in our respective age groups. From there, like the natural step was to try and go pro, but again, didn't have any like aspirations that it was something I could never live off. And then, yeah, it was actually I just did it for pure enjoyment. And then fast forward to 19, like almost by an accident. It wasn't an accident, but I won Ironman Hamburg. Like I was in the front and it was a warm day and people started bunking behind me and it was super crazy. And after that, the BMC team called me and suddenly I had a pro contract, and then was, in the sport, but also there, still a bit unsure what I could do, and actually made a 5-year plan, in 19 after Hamburg, and the end goal, like what me and my coach were still with, we thought would be my ultimate, like if we could get everything out of my talent, it would be a top 10 at Hawaii. And we managed that exactly 5 years later. But now, of course, we think there's more to chase, definitely.
Definitely more to chase now, but it's that's an amazing, inspiring rise. First off, and we'll get into where you're at now, but there's certainly been struggles along the way, I would imagine. And like, what do you think some of the bigger struggles were? Or is it overtraining, trying to like get to that elite level and being a pro? I know you've had some injuries along the way and you started to do really well and then had some setbacks. So like, what were some of those challenges to get to that Kona performance that you had last year?
Yeah, so I think one of the problems, if you can say so, like as I didn't have an elite sports background, we thought, like me and my good friend who I trained with, also our team, we called Go Longer because we thought we had to like train more than everyone else.
So does that still exist, the team?
Yeah, actually now we just have it as a coaching platform, but we have kind of reframed what it stands for, like that you don't have to train more, but just
that might have like a skull and crossbones with it at this point.
yeah, exactly. But like, so just we didn't have like the huge training age as some people do who maybe come from short distance and go into long distance. But we just thought that, had to do these crazy long training days and just, we were, of course, in the beginning, when you're not like near your potential at all, like you can almost do anything and then improve. And we just kept on feeling that we had to, do even more. And it also, of course, I think everything works well until a certain limit. And I think, it ended up going pretty well until 2021, where I actually also placed second at Ironman Frankfurt, but in a totally different quality of field. But from there, like I never really felt like myself for the next 2 years, or as a little we had the World Championships in 2022 in St. George, and actually had a very good performance a month before that in Challenge Salou. And I remember some people even called me a favorite for the podium after that performance. And I thought, like, okay, now I just have to like go crazy for the next month. And leading into that race, I was sleeping in an altitude tent. And then when I got home, I was back in the altitude tent and just cranked it up to almost 4,000 meters, thinking that like like, yeah, it was stupid. But like, I was like, oh, I just need to be 2% better, because if other people think I can get on the podium, then maybe like if I get a little better, I can start believing it myself. But that was, that totally killed me. And I ended up DNFing, at the race. And after that, I had 4 months where I was struggling in training. I remember we went to a camp with the BMC team, 1.5 months after St. George. And I was doing like 2 or 3 hour rides. I could like barely average 200 watts. And when I got home, I was just totally done. And, that took quite a while to kind of recover from. Then sometimes I felt like I bounced a little bit back, but then just went too hard at it again. And yeah, that carried all the way into 2023 until I got a stress fracture where like we kind of threw everything off the table and then started rethinking what we have been doing, from there.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Seems
What
to
would
me
you say?
that. Oh,
Go ahead,
go
Fede.
ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say that. Seems to me that you're the type of guy that goes all in at whatever you do, like whether it is World of Warcraft or triathlon. It seems that you go all in. And I wanted to ask you, after your first Ironman, and then what changed mentally, and that you were like, okay, let me pursue this. Let me see where can I take my body. Was it like a personal challenge? Was it like, okay, let me do this next one in a way that it's a pleasurable experience? And then what led into, okay, second place in Kona, let's see if I can go pro? Was it a matter of let's see how better I can be, or was it I just want to compete with the best of the world, or maybe a mix of both?
I was actually, just even for my first Ironman, and I was quite serious actually. And also for the second one, as an age group, I got a coach and really wanted to do very well. And then it was a completely disaster. But I think actually like what changed was that in 2015, I just started with my coach, and he told me that I think you can be very good at this if you start taking it a little bit more serious. And looking back, I wasn't taking it serious before, but I was just, doing a lot of training. But I was also going to bed at 1 or 2 in the evening, but still getting up for a swim at 5 in the morning. But I remember sometimes with the swimming, like when we were just standing, when we were standing still in the water, and the coach was telling us what the program was. I remember sometimes I was, where you have the moments where you almost fall asleep, but.
Right.
And I don't know how I pushed through those moments, but I think I just enjoyed it so much. But like winning an Ironman, that changed everything for me. Like especially, or definitely mentally, that starting to believe that okay, maybe this can become something that I'm can be very, very good at. But I've had like so many doubts still. Actually, only until this year, where the contracts I signed when I kind of got a pro contract was only like 1 year at a time, and I still had so much doubt in myself that like most of the year I was just afraid that I wouldn't perform. So then at the end of the year, I probably wouldn't be doing triathlon, and that especially last year, like having 2 terrible seasons before that, and then getting a stress fracture, and then try to come back from that. That was like especially the first races were really terrifying, because if I didn't perform, I had almost told myself that I would probably stop with triathlon at the end of 2024.
Wow. So how do you deal with that pressure? Because obviously you have the pressure of your own expectations, but now that you have sponsors that you have to renew year after year and they keep coming back, mentally, how do you deal with that in the training and the racing?
Yeah, so what we also did last year, actually, we did a lot of good things after the stress fracture, but we contacted the sports psychologist who's working, yeah, with a lot of different sports here in Denmark, and also because we thought, like, me and my coach were both a little bit nervous that all of the anxiety of like racing would kind of drag me a little bit down. So started working with him, and he kind of, like, it was just so nice to hear his perspective on things that, of course, everyone has anxiety, or not anxiety, but we are like have fear, or we
Yeah.
all get nervous. And he told me, like, and that just stuck with me, that all the, like, thousands of years ago, all the people that didn't fear the saber-tooth tiger or eat the poisonous berries, they all died. And now all the people that worried way too much, we're all still here. So we kind of have it ingrained in us to go around and be nervous or fear different things, and just have to know that it's normal. So he also introduced me to, like, I think he called it like the mental bus. So it can be just in your everyday life or in a race. So you're always the bus driver, and then now and then you go to a stop, and then you pick off different people. And when they go in the bus, some of them will still tell you terrible things, that you're worth nothing, or this is never gonna work out. You gotta find a normal job. And instead of trying to talk back to them or try to tell them to get off the bus, you just ask them to, you just say hi, and then you put them in the back of the bus. And then at one point they're gonna leave the bus, but then of course new ones are gonna come in, but you don't have control over that. You just acknowledge that they're there, and then tell them to go back in the back of the bus. So that was one thing that really helped me quite a lot. And also we started working a little bit with, we tried to make like a value set. So you can have that like in your everyday life and in racing. And so I think made like a good value, like some values that I wanted to represent in my normal life. And so I had them to stick with, and also in racing, some values that I could act, so I could act accordingly to those values. And then if I just did that, then the race would be a success, so to speak, no matter like the outcome. But as long as I acted according to my values and not on my feelings in the race, then I could be proud of the race, and then we could evaluate on what we could have done. But and that just took a lot off my shoulders, and it's something I've been using ever since.
Do you do anything specific on race day morning in terms of those nerves bottling up, and like how do you get rid of them, and how do you clear your mind before the swim and get ready to go? I think the bus example is an awesome one, but at the same time, you're like the lead bus or the lead car, and then there's another bus behind you filling up, and that's the bus that you're worried about catching because you're just gone. You're like 8 minutes ahead of everyone else. But before the race starts, how are you clearing your head? Because I think we all do that in different ways, and everyone who's part of this sport or anything in life before something. What are your new approaches that you've been able to work on?
Yeah, so previously I've also thought like I had to kind of hype myself up or be like, okay, let's get ready to go. But my strategy now is just like, I'm just really appreciating that I'm just able to race. So I, like, when all the nerves comes and all the adrenaline pumps in my body, I'm like almost thriving on it, and I'm like this feeling is something like, it's like there's a lot on stake when you are there. But then in reality, if we zoom out, it's not that like a threatening position that we are in. So I just really like enjoy of feeling to be in that what you can say, like, situation, but without, of course there's something on stake, but it's not like if I DNF, it's not like the end of the world. I'll still have my girlfriend and my family, and but I just really enjoy it and really just soak everything up, and also enjoy watching everyone else go around and be a little bit nervous and the tension in the air. I actually think it's my favorite moment of every race. And I also just been telling myself, maybe that's the whole point. I've been telling myself that it's super nice. And then, like, if you tell yourself a thing enough times, then suddenly it becomes reality.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
was reading this essay about high performance athletes like yourself and their ability of reframing circumstances. For instance, the nerves before a race, and like super high performance athletes, they go, okay, I'm not nervous, I'm just excited. This is what I trained for. And their ability to make that switch mentally, it's what puts them in a position to perform against their peers. And it's very refreshing to me that that someone like of your caliber, of your athletic ability, has the ability to go, okay, it's not the end of the world if I DNF. It's okay. It's at the end of the day, yes, we put a lot of time and effort into this, but it's something that we decided, that we put ourselves into this position. So we're going to live another day and we're going to try again. And the beauty about sport is that there's always a rematch if something doesn't go right. So I think this is very good for our audience and for people that are listening to not take it too seriously. Yes, put time, effort, dedication, and of course we're going to be disappointed if something doesn't go our way. But at the end of the day, we cannot control, like you said on the bus, the outcome. We can just control our thoughts and the process, and whatever happens, we can be happy if the outcome is not right, if we put everything we can into the basket of just controlling what we can. And so yeah, I think that's very cool to hear from someone like you. And it's gonna be very eye opening for a lot of listeners. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's a really, really good point, as you also underline. So just like we are kind of privileged that we can put ourselves in those situations and experience all the feelings. And I think we can learn so much on how we act, like, for example, how we act in the race of the morning, or how we act in if we get a little bit unlucky in a race situation. Like, it's something we learn in an environment where, like, there's no real bad consequences of the outcome, but we can also, like, maybe what we learn from that we can take into our real life, where the consequences might be much bigger and have much more impact. But then we learn so much from it that we can just act better in those situations.
Yeah, and I think that's a good jumping off point to talk about Ironman Frankfurt this weekend, because is there some drama with not only yourself, but a number of the other athletes in there too. But we got to first talk about your killer bike split out there. You absolutely dominated the field. And even with having that killer bike split and coming off, it sounds like there was some drama with a 1-minute penalty for some outside coaching. And I have to say, what you were just speaking about, that's why it reminded me, because you seem to handle that 1-minute penalty just really well. Like, you're calm, you weren't yelling. We had some other outbursts in the course when it came to penalties, but you seem to really handle it well. But can you tell us a little bit about how that all went down with this penalty for outside assistance, which it sounds like there were a couple instances?
Yeah. So mine was a little, I think, one of the guys that also coaches Magnus, he also lives in my city, actually just 500 meters over there.
Really?
And he was, of course, down there to support Magnus, but we are also good friends. And then I had my coach down there, and he stood, I think, right after the T2. And I literally think he took like 4 steps or something, and I think it's on the live stream, and and then but after that, and yelled a split to the other guys, and then the judge took notice of that, and then told him that he wasn't allowed to do that, and I could get a penalty. And then maybe 200 meters down the road, my coach did exactly the same, just took a few steps and yelled a split. And then that's kind of where the judge decided that I have had outside assistance. And he started yelling at me that I had to stop. And I was, of course, didn't really have any idea what was going on. And then I just looked behind. I could see he yelled that I had got a yellow card. And first I actually thought it was 5 minutes or something, but then he told me it was 1. I was like, okay, it's not that bad, but still pretty annoying. And when I stopped, he started his watch. So while he was informing me what was even going on, the time went by. But yeah, of course, he told me that my coach had ran with me, and I had absolutely not seen anything of that. And but also I couldn't argue with him, as he told me it was my coach, and it was in the rule book, even though it might seem a little unfair, as I don't think it's the biggest advantage you can gain out there. But I was trying to put my energy into where it really mattered, and then just trying to focus on the job, actually, and not worry too much about the consequences of it.
Yeah, what's going through your head in that moment, especially when it's a penalty on something that's out of your control, essentially. What's going through your head?
Yeah, so I also lost my chain with 5K or something to go on the bike. So I also knew I lost, I don't know, 30 or 40 seconds there. So at first I was like, that's a good portion of the lead gone right there. But then I actually still felt quite confident that I could run really well. So I knew it would get close no matter what. And I would just have to kind of see at the next time splits what the gap would be, and then try to make a plan from there. But yeah, it's funny. The whole moment is still a little bit blurry, I would say. It's really not something I focused a lot on, as I still thought that I could actually win. And actually, even when I first realized I could win, that was on the bike when they started yelling that the lead was at 6 or 7 minutes. I actually had a brief moment where that's the first time it really hit me that I could win. I could instantly feel like I got goosebumps because I thought of the finish line, and my eyes even started tearing a little bit up, and I was like, whoa, okay, focus back on the job. And from there I kind of promised myself not to think too far ahead, and maybe that was also what I did in that moment. Don't think too far ahead of the consequences that it can have, and try to stay as present as possible, and then do what I can. And that's a quote my coach tells me almost every second day, this is what's happening right now. You're doing the best you can, and then don't worry about it.
You mentioned the whole science aspect of your background and going into sports science, and I think you have found a way to really dial in your bike more so than some other athletes, and knowing the fact that you can't train 40 hours a week and stay injury free, you found other ways to get faster, and that's really showing itself now. And what are some of the things that you've done in the last year or since Kona to dial in for this season? And I know you've been able to push crazy watts. Like I think you averaged 320 last weekend, but 320 is what a lot of them are pushing, but you were still 8 minutes out in front. And I think a lot of it had to do with your position and learning how to race and stay aero and the CDA. So what are some of the bigger pieces that you've done? And maybe that's something an age grouper can pick up on. There's some short money that you can spend to get speed, but obviously the practice comes with it. What are some of your top things that you've dialed in?
Yeah. So yeah, for an age grouper, it would just, I think it would, think the best way for them to go would be to try and copy some of the fast riders and their positions, I would say, and maybe try to look for what helmet are they wearing or what clothing are they in, and because they 100% tested a lot of different stuff. And that's actually also what I did, prior to last year. And the guy I was looking towards was Magnus and his position, and I also think he was the kind of what pushed a lot of the athletes into like a little longer positions. And and I also went with that and thought it would be better. Even though when I was in the position, I really felt like, the strain on my back was quite high. And I also think just because of the position, I had trouble like pushing power. And then, last year I went to the velodrome, and then the first time, we didn't actually find anything crazy. Then I thought, this can't be true. So we went another time, and there I started to go a little shorter in my reach. And every time we shortened it by 1 centimeter, the CDA or how aero I am dropped a little bit. And then when I was as far back as I thought I could, then we started raising the angle a little bit. And again, like every time we raised the angle a little bit, it just got faster. So that was, kind of an eye-opening into like how like me and Magnus's bodies are like totally different. Like he's this, very tall, long arms, long legs. And, I think I have a little weird body type with extremely short arms actually. But I think it's really, for being aero on the bike, I'm starting to think that it might be very good because I get pretty low and then I have a long torso so I can stay pretty flat, and then short legs so I don't need to raise the seat as much. So that was that. And after that, I also started noticing that I was doing better in racing. And then I also went to the wind tunnel that last year and got some of the findings confirmed, and just starting riding pretty strong. I also felt like with shorter reach, I could also push more power and I was even more aero. So it was kind of a win-win situation. And just after many years feeling a bit uncomfortable in the TT position, when I got on the road, I just felt a lot better. And then this year new partners, just took it a little step further. And like, I know for my size last year, my CDA was really good. And then this year we got it, pretty low, I would say, even for smaller guys. So, yeah.
There's a correlation between CDA and power efficiency and CDA. I know there's some guys that say, okay, get me the lowest CDA. I don't care if I can push 150 watts because I'm super aero. What's the trade-off here? Do you look for a balance? Are you more CDA inclined? And second question of this part is, did you really consume 135 grams of carbs per hour on during the bike ride? And how did you train your gut to tolerate that?
Yeah, so I'm definitely more towards just the CDA and trying to be as aero as possible. I have come to realize now also that, of course, CDA is not everything. Like sometimes you can take some decisions. For example, let's say you get 1 or 2 watts slower by going 1 centimeter higher up in stack, but then you actually also gain a lot of comfort in that position. Now I'm like previously, maybe like for example just last year I would maybe have thought that then I would just go with the very low stuff, but yeah, I think it can be worth to make some trade-offs now and then. And I've also now lost my chain on the bike for the last 4 races, and maybe if I put on a chain catcher, I will lose 1 watt, but I won't lose the chain. So that's also something I'll have to look into. So stuff like that. And also maybe also just even like a helmet, like there are tons of different aero helmets that one might be a little faster, but then you have another one you feel more comfortable and more ventilated in. So then I would actually just go with that, even though it might be a little slower. But of course, also all these small things can also add up. So it's not like on everything you have to go with the comfort, but I would say, yeah, it's a decision of what type of race I would also say you're going into. And then, yeah, the carbohydrate thing, yeah. So the 135 grams were like the average over the entire race. So that's also with the swim included, where you don't take any carbs. So I think on the bike I aimed for 170, and then on the run it was 120 grams. And I think I don't know if it comes down to my age group days and stuff like that, but I remember like also studying on the side. It was always sometimes a little tight, and I remember a lot of the time I ate like a big lunch and then went for a run 10 minutes later, and I just did that for years, and also with dinner and stuff like that. And like, so I don't know if that helped in like I literally don't have any knock on wood gut issues. Like my stomach can tolerate quite a lot, but then of course I also try to avoid fibers the day before and in the breakfast, just to be 100% sure that I don't have anything unnecessary like lying in the digestion, and that's also probably a good factor.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the one other thing I wanted to ask about is in the race in Frankfurt. So you amassed this massive bike split in there, and you're setting records for the times overall and making up time on athletes like a Kristian Blumenfeld. How does it feel on the run, kind of knowing that these guys are chasing you down? Like you have this big lead, and like you said, you thought for a minute there that you were absolutely going to win it on the bike and had that emotional response. What's going through your head, or is there anything you can do really when you hear these time splits coming down to the people behind you?
Yeah, so the thing I can do is just try to do what I can do the best, and that was try not to overpace, and then try to stay cool, hydrated, and get in my carbs. So that was kind of the number one priority. And then it's actually just a long waiting game in a way. Like you can see the time drops a little bit, but I also thought I could see like I lost maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes per lap. So I also knew that if I kept my pace, it would come down to almost like a sprint finish in the end. So that was actually what I was kind of preparing for, that I felt quite comfortable also going through the first half marathon, and thought, okay, I'm going strong, so I'll just stay with this pace. And then I thought that, okay, if I keep feeling like this and they catch me, maybe I can try to see if I can increase the pace. But that's not exactly how it went. I bunked a little bit at the 30K mark, and from there it's kind of just damage control, or then also these thoughts that I think I when I kind of bonked, I was down to running 4 minutes per K. And I had no idea if that was kind of the lowest point I would get down to. Like, I have been into races where kind of you first slow down and then you run a couple of Ks at that pace, then you slow it down another time and then you slow down again. and I knew that if I was running slower than 4 minutes per K, then Kasper in third would catch me, and Gustav was also running strong. So yeah, that was kind of terrifying, as I still had like almost 12K left at that point. But so there you have to like really take it, 1 kilometer at a time, and just still focus on all like nutrition and cooling.
Well, you broke up the Norwegian, all Norwegian podium there, so kudos for that.
Yeah, that was good. Still an amazing performance. Like you talk about the mindset this whole episode, and you've got to keep that mindset going. I would imagine in those situations, like, look, I'm still second, right behind Kristian, and I got to hold on to that. And how did you stay positive? And I would even say go back to, like, what did you look at this race as a whole as some of the biggest takeaways in your eyes? Like, you were from Pack Swim, and not always has that been the case. And I think we all know the bike, and then you still had one of your better marathon runs. So what were some of your favorite takeaways from this race that you know you can build on going forward that maybe gets you to that top step in Nice?
Yeah, so I always been like, I like to be like home and in my own comfort. And last year for me, traveling quite a lot. I think I had a little over 150 travel days, and I still proved to myself, that I could develop as an athlete and still perform well. But I also knew there that if I can be that good, like when traveling a lot and not being in the environment that I love the most, then if I stay home, then maybe I could put on another layer. So I'm actually just very proud that also just that I'm able to, like, it sounds a little bit boring and not the crazy Instagram life, but like the swim environment we have here in Aarhus is incredible. With we have a very good coach on deck on Monday and Friday, and then the guy who coaches me is on deck on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then the 2 other days we swim with no coaches. But I knew that if I had to improve my swim, I had to stay home for as long as possible and be very consequent with being at the sessions. And then I knew I could, like, get the last year I had been lacking like just the last 60 to 90 seconds to the front group, and so far it has been closed down. I still don't feel comfortable that I would make it every time, but like I have to stay in this swim environment for that to happen. And then I also feel like that I'm able to perform at the level on the bike as I did, with the approach we had to the bike training, with just trying to keep it quite effective. So our philosophy was that if we just keep the bike training effective with, trying to keep the warm up pretty short, don't ride a lot of zone 1, because maybe I'll get a lot of the like easy endurance on my run and on my swimming, then maybe I'll have more energy for, like, for example, the intervals or just for overall recovery. So it's very comforting that some of the like choices you make, you get the outcome that you kind of expect. And of course, we have also made a lot of other different choices last years where we didn't get the outcome that we wanted. So I just think we slowly get sharper and sharper. And then the last thing I would just say is to be able to perform at the level I've seen in training this year is really, really nice. Like, sometimes I get on Strava and see guys doing world class training, but they never seem to get it out in racing. And so just to be able to also perform on the day that matters is, I think, a nice skill, if you can say that, to have.
I would say cutting back on the travel is something you're focused on, but coming up in the near future, you won't be focused on cutting back on the travel. I think somebody's added Swansea and Lake Placid.
Yeah, so I'm also like a little stressed about it. I had my first run today since Frankfurt, and 6 kilometers, and like almost every step I was finding a new swear word for my coach.
We've all been there.
Yeah. So it will be interesting, but like I have so much doubt that how it all work out. Like there, I really fear that maybe I can't perform at those 2 races, and maybe it will also come with a cost that, like, this week is more like a recovery week. I hope to get into good training into next week, and maybe I can like train over Swansea, so I don't have to taper for that, because then I'll have another taper leading into that. And then after Swansea, there's 1 week to Lake Placid where I also have to taper, and I'll have to taper after Lake Placid. So suddenly it's like 4 weeks out of the window. So the challenge of trying to get in some quality training while still feeling relatively sharp is going to be pretty big challenge. I don't feel 100% that we'll nail it. So and also, as you said, it's gonna come with a lot of traveling. So I'm gonna be a little bit challenged on that. But it will be a fun little experiment.
Yeah, totally. See how the body responds.
So this question, it's I'm asking for a friend that his name starts with an F and ends with an Ed. If there are 3 key sessions on swim, bike, and run that you can do to get fit fast, what would they be? Like if you want to just get the most bang for your buck and get fit ready, so that then you have like a base so that you can build upon, what would be those sessions that you would suggest?
Oh, I'm a little split on the swim, actually, because we have 1 week a day where we take up all the lane ropes and then put in buoys in the water. And then we have like on 100 meters, we maybe have like 3 or 4 turns. And when we started doing it this year, like all of us, our shoulders were totally smashed after each session, because we kind of have to break our rhythms each time we got around the buoys. But as we kind of progressed over the last months, it's been so good. And I think it's one of the keys to my open water success this year is just being able to like reset after each small acceleration. Whereas when you swim in a pool, you have like the totally same movement pattern in the water. But when it's open water, maybe your hand goes a little bit out and you use just the muscle a little bit different. But I think that's one of the key sessions, and you can even get benefit from it over a short period of time, because it's just getting used to it. And on the bike, I just really love a good simple threshold workout, like 6 times 10 minutes. And I feel like the first few weeks is also just getting used to even being able to do 6 times 10 minutes. But then when you're in the grind, it's like your muscles just don't fatigue the same way. And sometimes you can even, when you have ridden it for a couple of weeks, you can maybe even increase the power a little bit in the last few repetitions. So even though it's not that Ironman specific, I feel like it builds some kind of fatigue resistance. And then the running, I would say maybe just a good old long run. Also just being able to spend time on the legs without them fatiguing.
No, that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Well, we've got quick fire questions that we like to ask our guests on here. Nothing too crazy. But let's start with, what's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten during training or racing? Have you ever just been like bonked at a gas station and gotten something bizarre?
Oh, yeah, I remember one time, I was in a period where I tried not to eat too much during training, and I was cycling to a summer cabin, and like maybe 100K into the ride with 80K to go. I was like literally, I was bonking so bad. And then like here in Denmark in summertime, we have a lot of strawberry farms, and then sometimes they put out their strawberries in like just in the front of their garden, and then you can buy a little box of strawberries. And literally, I was riding in this small town, and there was no supermarkets or anything, and I was like, almost shaking. And then I could see, okay, I could get 500 grams of strawberries. I was like, take my money. And then I sat there eating 500 grams of strawberries. So, and that's a big portion.
Yeah.
And then after I was like, oh, okay, that was good. Now I'm ready for the last 80 kilometers. Then I went on Google and then, okay, how many grams of carbohydrates are there in 500 grams of strawberries? And it was like 20 grams of carbohydrates. So I was bonking completely bad, but I was also like so full that I couldn't almost bike on my bike. That was terrible.
And that's why we do the sports drinks. A lot more carbs with a lot less.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. If you had to race an Ironman with another pro, who would it be and why? So this could be someone who would push you to go faster, or just someone who'd be fun to spend the time with to do an Ironman distance.
Yeah, I think it would be my good friend Kristian Høgenhaug, who we started together as age groupers, and also us that kind of made it a go longer team, and we have just been in the sport quite a lot together. So, and it's been quite a lot of years since we raced each other, but it would be nice to kind of have the experience together and kind of just remembering old days.
I like that. Next one is, if you had to add one discipline to triathlon, so fourth discipline, what would it be? And we're looking for something that would give you an advantage. So is it a World of Warcraft tournament beforehand, or what would you add in there?
Mitten.
Yeah. Maybe chugging a few beers. Maybe I think I won that competition on the podium at Frankfurt over Kristian. So maybe I will have an advantage there.
Like it.
And strawberries could be there.
Beer and strawberries.
You don't wait to do the beer mile after the race like Skipper. You're going to do it before the race.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Next one. So do you have a guilty pleasure or pump up song that you listen to before hard sessions or a race?
Yeah, sometimes I actually just like to award myself with a bit of candy before going into a session. Like if I have a really good session, I'll maybe go over and buy some candy and then get pumped in that way. That's probably my guilty pleasure.
I like it. And then the last one, what's a piece of advice that you've been given over the years that's really resonated with you?
It's 100% the quote my coach keeps giving me with this is what's happening. I'm doing the best I can, because it's something I can kind of use in everyday life and in racing. And for example, just now this week went for a run and it felt absolutely terrible, and I feel like I have to perform a world-class level again in just 9 days. And of course, panic starts to pop up in your mind, but then what I can do is try to recover as best as possible, take the best decisions, and then I can't really do much more. And it's not the same as saying that you don't care, but then you should just try to relax. And sometimes it can take a little bit of pressure off your shoulders because you can't really do much more than your best. And then, don't go around and knock yourself in the head and say, try even better, but try to do 95% of your best, and then you can't really do much more.
That is really great advice.
I'd say that leads into a thought I had in my head, because you're talking about how hard it was to get that next run in 95%. How about some of your colleagues who you raced with last weekend, who were probably at 70%, who are jumping in Roth in a couple of days? Like, how would that Now, I know a couple of them didn't finish, but they did race. They put a lot of energy into Frankfurt. Could you even imagine doing Roth this weekend?
Not right now, I would say, but I can feel how they are thinking. I mean, we all knew that even before the start list was released that this was gonna be one crazy field. So I think everyone prepared to it at the best of their capabilities, and also pumped themselves up. And then when you kind of don't really release the pressure from the valve, then I feel like you have to go to another big event, and then Roth is pretty big. Pretty big. Yeah. Quite convenient. It's a 2-hour drive from Frankfurt, so I think a lot of them, if they didn't really run too far on the run, will be 100% ready, I think, and also probably very eager to perform because they didn't do it last weekend.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So sounds like you got a few races coming up, and we'll definitely be following along as you head towards Ironman Nice, the World Championships there. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We sure appreciate it. And it was fun to hear more insights about race in Frankfurt and just what you've done so far in the sport.
Yeah, and thanks for a great podcast. Some very good questions and also different questions. So I really enjoyed it. It's always nice that sometimes things resonate with yourself when you try to answer different questions. So thank you.
You've been a busy man this week. We had to do our own research. You forced us to do a lot of research to make sure we didn't ask the same questions, but appreciate it. And where's the best way to follow your journey on your Instagram, and maybe some of your partners that have helped get you here?
Yeah, it will probably be my Instagram. I'll try to post more frequent from now on. I think I gained a lot of new followers, so I better start prioritizing it a little bit. And so that's probably the best channel to follow.
Awesome.
Perfect. We'll add those links into the show notes here so that people can find you easily and start following your journey. But until then, we look forward to the next race and have a great evening.
Thanks.
Thank you. And have a good day.
Thank you.